Let's talk about IT security governance. It may seem like a boring topic, but trust me, it's the equivalent of cybersecurity bungee jumping, and it's important for both the CISSP exam and for understanding related topics within the body of knowledge. My goal is to help you understand IT security governance and associated CISSP core ideas by defining each of the pieces and showing how they connect together. Hi, I'm Jeffrey Moore, and in this video, we're going to cover three things. First, a brief intro into corporate and security governance and how they align. Second, an overview of important concepts and components that underpin the rest of the CISSP body of knowledge. And finally, a few things to keep in mind as you implement security governance in practice. So, what is governance? Governance means directing activities and creating plans that achieve objectives and goals. Business goals often relate to things like customer satisfaction, financial results, improved internal processes, risk management, of course, and growth opportunities. Corporate governance is the realm of the board and management team, responsible for setting appropriate policies and ensuring that company-wide goals are defined and managed. And of course, security governance is a component of corporate governance. And we define security governance as the system, policies, and goals that direct an organization's security. Security governance flows directly from the organization's mission, goals, and objectives. It establishes the rules, responsibilities, and processes to protect an organization's data and systems. It ensures organizations comply with legal and regulatory requirements while building trust with clients and stakeholders. And security governance needs to evolve with new technologies and emerging threats to remain effective. So now that we've defined security governance, let's talk about how we keep alignment between what the security function does and where the organization is going. Planning is an integral part of security governance, and effective security management planning ensures that an overall security policy is implemented and supported by the board and management. Strategy, goals, missions, and objectives support one another in a hierarchical structure. The mission defines the organization's purpose, and the strategy outlines how to achieve it. Strategic goals translate the mission into broader, longer-term targets, which are then broken down into specific, measurable objectives. Security management planning is based on three types of plans: strategic, tactical, and operational. Strategic plans cover a longer term, usually 3 to 5 years. Tactical plans are how the goals in the strategic plan get accomplished and usually cover a shorter term, around a year. And operational plans are often short term and highly detailed. I want to review several core concepts that underpin security governance and, in fact, the rest of the CISSP body of knowledge. Ethics are principles that guide our behavior towards making the best choices that contribute to the common good. Codified ethics are a written set of professional principles, values, or rules of conduct. An organization or profession creates them to guide its members' behavior and decision-making. For an organization, ethics are codified as policies or corporate laws. Organizations create security policies to maintain the integrity of data and system security. Ethics and policies matter. ISC Squared has a code of professional ethics that you should be familiar with and follow. In fact, you should commit the code of ethics canons to memory. Let's review them. Protect society, the common good, necessary public trust and confidence in the infrastructure. Act honorably, honestly, justly, responsibly, and legally. Provide diligent and competent service to principals. And advance and protect the profession. Accountability and responsibility are core concepts related to security governance. They're distinct yet interconnected and often used interchangeably. But it's essential for businesses and, of course, CISSP candidates to understand the difference to foster a culture of ownership and high performance. Responsibility is the obligation to perform specific actions or assign tasks. Multiple people can be responsible for different aspects of a project or process. Responsibility can be delegated to others. Accountability, on the other hand, focuses on outcomes and consequences. One individual or role is usually ultimately accountable for the results of tasks, actions, projects, and outcomes, and that accountability can't be delegated. The CISSP is a management level certification, and the test is in part an exercise in wearing the hat of a security manager, CEO, or owner. Being an owner means that you are a business enabler because your priority is to help the business succeed. You do this in part by finding solutions that mitigate risk to the organization's risk appetite in a cost-effective manner. For the exam, it also means answering questions from a management or ownership perspective. What choices maximize business outcomes? The board and senior management are relying on you to present security issues and options in business language, to work to mitigate risk and provide the governance and controls that will help the organization achieve its goals and fulfill its mission. You are accountable or have ownership for this process. Due diligence and due care are important concepts that you'll see throughout the CISSP body of knowledge. Due diligence is about establishing a plan, policy, and processes to protect the organization's interest. In other words, it's knowing what should be done and planning for it. Due care is the practice of individual activities that maintain or carry out due diligence. Due care is about the legal responsibility within the law or within an organization's policy to implement controls, follow security policies, and, like I say to my daughters, make reasonable choices. The 5 pillars of information security are confidentiality, integrity, availability, authenticity, and non-repudiation. These are the foundational goals that all security measures aim to achieve. Confidentiality, integrity, and availability are often referred to as the CIA triad, and these 3 principles are the primary goals of secure systems and infrastructure. Confidentiality means preventing unauthorized disclosure of data. Integrity is ensuring data is correct, complete, and unaltered. Availability ensures timely and reliable access to resources. Authenticity is ensuring a transmission message or sender is legitimate. Non-repudiation means that you can't deny doing something after the fact. For instance, if you send an email, sign a contract digitally, or approve a transaction, non-repudiation ensures that there's proof that you did it. You should also know what AAA or AAA services means. AAA stands for Authentication, Authorization, and Accounting, or Accountability. In the CISSP, it's often extended to include identification and auditing. These services control who can access a system, what they can do, and how their actions are tracked. When you see non-repudiation, think proof of origin plus accountability. It's not just about access, but about ensuring that no one can deny their actions once completed. Remember that the 5 pillars are the objectives. They define what security protects at a conceptual level. They're the objectives or goals you're trying to meet, not the methods. AAA services are the mechanisms or methods related to users and their interactions with resources. AAA is about ensuring secure access control and traceability in systems. Policies, standards, baselines, guidelines, and procedures are important parts of a comprehensive security plan. The top tier of a formalized security documentation hierarchy is the security policy. A security policy is the scope of security needed by the organization. It discusses assets that require protection and the extent to which security solutions should go to provide that protection. It defines the strategic security objectives, vision, and goals, and outlines the security framework of the organization. A standard is a specific mandate explicitly stating expectations of performance or conformance in the organization. A standard is more descriptive than a policy, defining security controls and the compulsory requirement for the use of technology and systems throughout the organization. A baseline defines a minimum level of security that every system throughout the organization must meet. Baselines are usually system-specific and may be industry or government standards. A guideline is a recommendation on how standards and baselines should be implemented and serves as an operational guide for security professionals and users. Guidelines are voluntary, flexible, and customizable for unique systems or conditions. A procedure is a detailed, step-by-step description of the exact actions necessary to implement a specific security mechanism, control, or solution. Successful IT security governance requires clear oversight and well-defined roles. For the exam, be familiar with these 6 roles. Senior manager. The senior manager is the owner, accountable for security, policy, authorization, associated resources, and exercising due diligence and due care. Security professional. A security professional is the implementer responsible for designing and carrying out security solutions based on the security policy. The security pro has functional responsibility for security. The asset owner. The asset owner is the classifier, usually a high-level manager who is responsible for categorizing or classifying information and determining appropriate asset protection. The asset owner often delegates data management tasks to a custodian. The custodian is the doer, responsible for the task of implementing the protection defined by the security policy and senior management. The auditor. The auditor is the checker, responsible for reviewing and verifying that the security policy is properly implemented. And the user. The user, of course, is anyone who has access to a secured system. A user is responsible for following and upholding the organization's security policy. User access should be limited to only what is strictly necessary to complete their job, also known as the principle of least privilege. Here are a few things to keep in mind as you implement security governance in practice. Successful IT security governance requires clear oversight and well-defined roles. Cross-functional governance committee with executive authority and including functional areas or departments is often used to ensure alignment with corporate planning and compliance enforcement. Once roles and oversight are established, the next step is to align security governance with the broader corporate strategy. Security is a business risk that needs to be managed alongside other risks, such as those related to finance, legal, or even natural disasters. As we've touched on earlier, we want to integrate security governance and corporate decision-making processes. This includes establishing frameworks, aligning performance metrics, and creating consistent reporting structures. The goal is to support business objectives without introducing unnecessary obstacles. The extent to which security control and process implementation impacts revenue and/or organizational momentum may cause the board of directors or senior management to accept a set of risks. This trade-off calculus is a key aspect of security alignment with the organization's risk tolerance. Once organization structures and roles are in place and aligned with the organization's strategy, the next step is to develop a framework that translates governance principles into actionable policies for day-to-day security operations. Let me know in the comments what areas of security governance or related concepts in the security and risk management domain you find the most challenging. And I'll see you in the next video.